here.
Wisconsin has places where locals swear. If you stand still long enough, something will stand right behind you. And today, you're about to walk through the top 15 most haunted locations in the entire state, places where whispers, shadows, and centuries-old stories still cling to the walls. Watch closely if you dare. One, Summerwind Lamont Mansion, Vilas County. They say the wind never truly leaves Summerwind. It whispers through broken windows, carrying the voices of those who never escaped. Perched on the edge of Wisconsin's Vilas County forest, the Lamont Mansion stands like a ghost frozen in time. Its decaying walls still echoing with secrets no one should ever hear. It began as a dream home in the early 1900s, but soon, dreams twisted into nightmares. The Lamont family didn't last long after moving in. Thomas Lamont was found raving, claiming the shadows in the halls knew his name. One night, he fired his gun wildly into the walls, screaming that something was staring at him through the plaster. When morning came, the walls bled with strange stains, and he was never the same again. Years later, new owners tried to restore the mansion, but none could last more than a few nights. Tools vanished, doors slammed, piano keys played on their own long after midnight. Workers whispered about a face half human, half decayed that appeared behind basement doors. Watching, even paranormal investigators, hardened by years of hauntings, refused to return after their recording devices captured faint whispers repeating, "Still here." Now, only the foundation remains, swallowed by nature, but locals swear that when the summer wind rises over the lake, it carries a melody, a piano tune drifting through the trees. Some say it's the mansion's final breath. Others believe it's an invitation. If you ever find yourself in Vilas County, listen closely. The wind might seem ordinary at first, until it starts whispering your name. Do you dare answer it? Tss. The Pfister Hotel, Milwaukee. They say every luxury has its price. And at the Pfister Hotel in downtown Milwaukee, that price is your sanity. Guests arrive dazzled by chandeliers and marble halls. But it's what lurks in the quiet spaces between heartbeats that keeps them awake long after midnight. It begins subtly, a cold draft in a room with sealed windows, footsteps pacing above an empty floor, luggage mysteriously moved, as if someone rummaged through it looking for a memory that wasn't theirs. Many dismiss it as imagination until the hotel starts responding. Athletes staying there for games have reported seeing a man in Victorian clothing standing at the foot of their bed, staring silently before evaporating into the dark. Some wake to find their electronics flickering, messages typed by unseen hands, screens recording on their own. Staff whisper about Charles Pfister, the hotel's founder, who supposedly still roams the hallways, ensuring his grand masterpiece remains under his watchful eye. They've seen reflections in mirrors that don't belong to anyone in the room, doors unlocking themselves, elevators arriving without being called as if beckoning guests to follow. And those who take the ride alone claim the temperature drops, and faint breathing fills the car, inches from their ear. The strangest thing, no matter how many guests report these encounters, the hotel remains calm, elegant, almost inviting like a predator luring you in with a smile. So if you check into the Pfister, don't ignore the flicker in the corner of your eye. It may not be a trick of the light. It may be the owner making sure you never forget his hotel. The question is, will you walk out with your memories intact or... 3. Shaker's Cigar Bar, Milwaukee. In the heart of Milwaukee's historic district stands Shaker's Cigar Bar, a place where time seems to cling to the walls as heavily as the scent of tobacco. By day, it glows with warm amber light and vintage charm. But when night falls, the building remembers what it once was, and it refuses to stay quiet. Beneath the polished bar top and jazz music lies a past soaked in secrets mobsters, hidden tunnels, and a brothel that thrived during Prohibition. Visitors often report a strange feeling the moment they step inside, as if dozens of unseen eyes are watching from the shadows. At first, it's easy to ignore a flicker of movement in the mirrors, soft footsteps on the old wooden floors. But then the whispers begin. Some guests hear a woman humming from the bathroom when no one is inside. Others feel a cold hand brush their shoulder on the staircase, leading to the old speakeasy tunnels. The most unsettling story comes from those who venture to the second floor. They describe a young woman in a white dress, pale, silent, with a stare that freezes blood. She appears only for a second before fading away, but the scent of cheap perfume lingers long after she's gone. Locals call her Elizabeth, a ghost tied to the bar's darker days, forever wandering the hallways she once knew. But the basement is where courage truly fails. People swear the air thickens, as if the walls are holding their breath. Some claim to see shadows crawling along the brick tunnels. Others hear heavy boots pacing just behind them, mob enforcers who never left. Shakers may welcome you with a drink and a story, but remember, not every patron there is living. And if you feel someone sit beside you when the stool is empty, don't turn around. Whatever it is, it's already seen you. Or Brumder Mansion Bed and Breakfast, Milwaukee. Brumder Mansion looks innocent enough from the street-warm lights glowing through stained glass windows, velvet curtains, and the inviting promise of a quiet night's stay. But behind its Victorian charm, Milwaukee locals whisper about something far older, far darker, drifting through the halls like a memory that refuses to fade. Guests often describe a strange shift in the air the moment they cross the threshold. The mansion feels aware, as though it's sizing them up. At first, it's nothing more than a soft creak on the stairs or a flicker of light in the gold room. But then the unexplained sensations begin. Some wake to the sound of soft footsteps pacing their room, though no one is there. Others feel the mattress dip beside them, as if someone silently sat down in the dead of night. One of the most chilling tales comes from the third floor. Visitors staying in the Blue Room often report seeing a shadowy figure standing at the edge of the bed, tall and still, watching. When they blink, it vanishes, leaving only the scent of old roses and a sudden wave of cold that seeps straight into the bones. Some believe it's the spirit of a former owner, still wandering the mansion he loved, unwilling to give up the home he built. Downstairs, a different presence seems to linger. A playful but unsettling entity tugs at clothing, moves books, and whispers just out of earshot, never clear enough to understand, but always close enough to feel. And late at night, the grand piano sometimes plays a single note, slowly, deliberately, as though announcing that the spirits are awake. Brumder Mansion may welcome you like family, but don't be fooled by the warmth. The house is alive with watching eyes and lingering whispers. The only question is if you stay the night. Will you meet its friendly ghosts, or the ones that wait until the lights go out. Psst. Hotel Retlaw, Fond du Lac. Hotel Retlaw stands proudly in downtown Fond du Lac, its glowing facade promising elegance and comfort. But beneath the polished floors and restored architecture lies a history that refuses to stay buried, a history that awakens when the hallways grow quiet and the night stretches thin. Guests often say the hotel feels different the moment the doors slide shut behind them. The lobby hums with a strange, restless energy, like someone is watching from just beyond the corner of your vision. At first, it's harmless, lights flickering, distant footsteps echoing through empty corridors, elevators arriving without being called. But the true unease begins on the upper floors, where the air feels colder, heavier, as though filled with secrets no renovation could erase. Some visitors report hearing soft tapping at their door after midnight. When they open it, nothing but an empty hall stretching into darkness. Others swear they've felt someone standing behind them when they look into the bathroom mirror, a tall silhouette lingering just long enough to steal their breath before dissolving. A few even claim to have seen a man in an old-fashioned suit wandering the hallways, face pale, eyes hollow. He never speaks. He only stares. Staff members whisper about the building's past stories of crime, hidden tunnels, and the spirits of those who checked in but never checked out. The most chilling encounters come from the basement, where workers report hearing whispered conversations drifting from locked storage rooms, followed by sudden silence, as if the ghosts realized they were being overheard. Hotel Retlaw may greet you with luxury, but don't let the charm fool you. When the lights dim and the halls fall silent, something ancient stirs within its walls. If you choose to stay the night, remember, some guests are permanent, and they're eager for company. The Grand Opera House, Oshkosh. The Grand Opera House in Oshkosh glows with old-world beauty golden balconies, velvet seats, and a stage that once held the greatest performers of its time. But when the last guest leaves and the lights dim to a soft ember, the theater's true audience awakens, an audience that never bought a ticket and never left. It starts with a feeling, a quiet pressure in the air, like someone breathing just behind your shoulder. Stagehands working late, hear footsteps pacing across the catwalks above them, even though no one else is in the building. Curtains sway without a breeze. A faint cough echoes from the balcony, an unmistakable sound in a theater known for its long history of illnesses, accidents, and sudden tragedies. Some nights, the chandeliers begin to sway, slow at first, then faster, as if responding to an unseen commotion. That's when people notice the sight most whispered about. A man in a dark suit sitting alone in the balcony, his posture straight, hands folded, eyes fixed on the empty stage. When someone approaches, he dissolves into thin air, leaving the seat ice cold, as though he had been watching a performance no living person could see. Actors say the stage carries its own presence. Lights switch on by themselves. Props move, and the scent of old perfume drifts across the boards. One performer reported feeling a hand grasp her arm during rehearsal. No one was there, yet the grip left her trembling. Another claimed she heard applause from an empty theater, soft and distant, as if the ghosts were still critiquing the show. But the bravest or the most foolish speak of the basement. Down there, The shadows seem to pulse. People hear whispered arguments, chairs shifting, and a low growl that rises from the dark, warning them to leave. So if you ever visit the Grand Opera House, step inside with respect. The spirits there love the stage, and they're always waiting for the next act. The question is, will they watch you or follow you home? Two, Pabst Mansion, Milwaukee. The Pabst Mansion may dazzle with its grand staircases and lavish European design, but when night settles over Milwaukee, the estate transforms into something far less welcoming. Beneath the polished woodwork and glittering chandeliers lies a heartbeat. Slow, steady, ancient, like the house itself is alive and waiting. Visitors often speak of an unease that settles in the foyer, a chill that drifts along the marble floors even in summer. Tour guides try to explain it away, but they can't ignore the moments when doors quietly close on their own, or the sudden scent of cigar smoke curling through empty halls. They say it belongs to Captain Frederick Pabst himself, still wandering the corridors of the home he once ruled. Stranger still are the sightings on the grand staircase. Some guests catch a glimpse of a woman descending the steps, dressed in a shimmering gown from another century. She never reaches the bottom. Her figure fades halfway, as though the mansion only allows visitors to see a fragment of her memory. Others have reported feeling a tug on their sleeve near the library, followed by a soft whisper too faint to understand, but close enough to freeze the blood. Lights flicker in rooms long since sealed. Footsteps echo across the third floor when no tours are scheduled. And late at night, security guards swear they hear piano notes drifting through the dark, slow and sorrowful. Even though the mansion no longer holds a working instrument, still, the most unsettling moments happen when someone lingers too long alone. They describe the unmistakable sensation of being watched not with malice, but with a strange, desperate curiosity, as if the spirits of the mansion are trying to remember what it felt like to be alive. Step into the Pabst Mansion, and you step into a world where the past refuses to stay silent. The house may welcome you, but once its ghosts notice you, will they let you leave unseen? Aid. Dartford Cemetery, Green Lake. Dartford Cemetery in Green Lake looks peaceful in the daylight, quiet rows of headstones, tall trees whispering in the wind, and a small river reflecting the sky. But once the sun sinks below the horizon, the cemetery becomes something else entirely. A place where the living are outnumbered and the dead are far from silent. Locals warn newcomers never to sit on the famous witch's grave. They say anyone who does will feel a pressure on their chest, as if invisible hands are trying to push them down into the earth. Some laugh it off until they try it. More than a few brave souls have stood up gasping for breath, clawing at the air, insisting something unseen was holding them. But the witch is only the beginning. Visitors walking the paths at night often hear soft footsteps behind them, perfectly matching their pace. When they turn around, the footsteps stop, but the feeling of being followed only grows stronger. Shadows flicker between the tombstones, tall and thin, moving with a strange, unnatural rhythm as though they're trying to hide, or circle, or study whoever dares to walk their ground. The most common sightings are of the children. Faint giggles drifting from the far end of the cemetery. Small figures running behind trees. Some claim they've seen a young boy with hollow eyes staring at them from behind a monument, disappearing the moment they call out. Others hear the sound of marbles rolling, tapping over stone echoes of games never finished. And then there's the mausoleum. Even the bravest avoid it after dark. People report a deep, low moan vibrating through the stone walls, followed by a sudden cold that wraps around them like a warning. Some swear they've seen a face pressed against the darkness behind the barred door, pale, expressionless. Watching Dartford Cemetery may look calm from the road, but once you're inside, the air changes. The ground feels restless, and if you stay long enough, you'll realize the whispers aren't the wind. They're calling for you. The question is, will you answer? Nine. The old Glen Beulah School, Glen Beulah. The old Glen Beulah School stands abandoned at the edge of town, its broken windows staring out like empty eye sockets. Locals walk past quickly, refusing to look too long. They say the school never truly closed, it just changed who it teaches. And now, its only students are the restless shadows that roam its halls. At first glance, it's just a crumbling building, swallowed by vines and whispering trees. But step inside, and the air tightens instantly. The floors groan under your feet, not from age, but as if something underneath is shifting. People exploring the old classrooms report hearing the soft scrape of desks moving, though every desk sits perfectly still. Then come the whispers faint, echoing, like children reciting lessons in a language no one recognizes. Some visitors claim to have heard the old school bell ring, sharp and sudden, even though the rusted bell tower hasn't worked in decades. Others swear they've seen a figure standing at the chalkboard, a teacher with her back turned, frozen in place. When they blink, she's gone, but the chalk keeps writing on its own, carving long, shaky lines across the dusty board. But the most terrifying encounters happen on the second floor, where the roof has partially collapsed. People hear the rapid pounding of footsteps, like children running late for class. The sound rushes toward them, louder and louder, until it stops inches away, though the hallway is always empty. Some say they've felt small hands tug at their clothes, cold and desperate, as if begging anyone not to leave them behind. And late at night, when the moon is high, lights flicker inside the school despite there being no electricity. Silhouettes dance behind the windows. Laughter echoes faintly, twisted by something that is no longer human. The old Glen Beulah School may have lost its students long ago, but it hasn't forgotten the lessons it taught. If you dare to walk its halls, be warned. Once the bell rings, class is in session, and it might not let you go until you've learned its final, chilling truth. Sana. Hearthstone Historic House Museum, Appleton. The Hearthstone Historic House Museum in Appleton looks like a portrait from another era. Warm lights, polished woodwork, and the honor of being the first home powered by hydroelectricity. But when the last visitor leaves and the doors lock for the night, the house reveals a much darker power humming within its walls, something older than electricity and far harder to control. Staff often say the atmosphere shifts at dusk. The air grows heavy, almost charged, as if the house is drawing in a long, slow breath. Footsteps begin to echo down the staircases, soft but unmistakable footsteps that don't match the living. Shadows drift across the halls, moving with quiet purpose, slipping into rooms before anyone can catch a full glimpse. Some nights, doors open by themselves, edges trembling as though pushed by invisible hands. The most unsettling room is the parlor. Visitors report feeling watched the moment they enter. A prickle down the neck, a sense of someone standing just behind them. Tour guides have seen rocking chairs sway gently, even when no air circulates. One guest claimed she saw a woman in Victorian dress reflected in the glass display case. Her face, pale, her eyes hollow, staring directly back. When the guest turned around, the room was empty, but the reflection lingered a heartbeat too long. Downstairs, the old generator room seems alive with strange noises, metallic clinks, faint murmurs, and the low hum of machinery that hasn't run in decades. Investigators once recorded a voice whispering, "Stay here," in the dark, followed by a blast of icy wind that sent them fleeing. And sometimes, late in the evening, the lights flicker in perfect rhythm, like a heartbeat pulsing through the house. Staff swear they've heard someone walking the upper hall, pacing endlessly, as if searching for a room they once called their own. The Hearthstone house may shine with history and innovation, but don't be fooled by the glow. Some energy inside it was never meant to be harnessed, an energy that watches, waits, and remembers every soul that steps through its doors. Heritage Hill State Historical Park, Green Bay, Aloes. Heritage Hill State Historical Park feels peaceful in the daylight log cabins, old churches, and quiet pathways that carry the scent of pine and history. But when the sun slips behind the tree line and the last reenactor locks the gates, the past doesn't rest. It stirs, it whispers, and sometimes it walks. Night guards report the first sign, a sudden drop in temperature near the old fur trade building. The air grows so cold, it feels like stepping into another century. Footsteps crunch across the gravel, slow and heavy, though no one can be seen. Some guards swear they've heard the sound of a horse snorting beside them. The clink of reins, the thud of boots echoes of travelers who never finish their journey. The most active spot is the Belgian farmhouse. People entering after dark describe a feeling of being watched from the upper loft. A rocking chair often sways on its own, creaking steadily as if someone invisible sits in it, humming an old lullaby. One night, a staff member closed the door, only to hear a child's giggle from behind it, soft, playful, but impossibly close. The chapel holds a different kind of presence. Visitors have felt their shoulders brushed by unseen hands, and some claim to hear a choir singing faintly, voices rising and falling in the darkness, though the building is completely empty. More unsettling are the candles that flicker without wind, their flames stretching unnaturally, as if drawn toward something unseen. But the darkest stories come from the old military fort. Shadows drift across the barracks, long and distorted. Guards hear shouting commands, barked in languages long forgotten, followed by the slam of phantom boots, marching in perfect rhythm. Once, a guard saw a soldier standing by the doorway, uniform dusty, face hidden in shadow. When he blinked, the figure was gone, but the strong scent of smoke and gunpowder remained. Heritage Hill preserves Wisconsin's past, but some memories refuse to stay buried in display cases. If you walk its paths after dark, listen closely. The past might call out to you. The real question is, will you answer when it does? Orpheum Theater, Madison. The Orpheum Theater in Madison glitters with vintage glamour, its glowing marquee, its velvet curtains, its stage that once carried legends. But when the crowds leave and the city's noise fades, the theater reveals its true audience, an unseen crowd that never left their seats. It begins with a shift in the air, a sudden stillness that settles over the lobby. Night staff hear footsteps circling the mezzanine. Slow and deliberate, long after the last patron is gone, some claim they've seen a shadow drift across the balcony, tall and thin, pausing at the railing as if still waiting for the show to begin. When approached, the figure vanishes, leaving behind a cold draft that feels like a warning. Down near the backstage corridors, the atmosphere grows heavier. Lights sway although the air is calm. Dressing room mirrors fog from the inside, as if someone is breathing just inches away. One technician swore he saw a woman in an old-fashioned evening gown sitting at the makeup table, brushing her hair with slow, deliberate strokes. The moment he blinked, she disappeared, yet the hairbrush kept moving for several seconds more. But the stage holds the darkest energy. Actors rehearsing alone report hearing applause echo from the empty seats, soft at first, then growing louder, as though the ghosts are judging their performance. Others feel a hand rest on their shoulder before a scene changes, steady and ice cold, like a forgotten director still guiding them. And sometimes the giant curtains shift violently, as if yanked by someone furious the show has ended. Above it all lies the projection booth. Workers avoid it. They say a man stands there late at night, silhouetted against the window, watching the auditorium below. His outline is unmistakable, his presence overwhelming. And when people climb the stairs to confront him, the booth is empty, yet the smell of cigarette smoke lingers in the air. The Orpheum Theater may shine with history, but its ghosts crave an audience. If you stay long enough, you might find them watching you, waiting for the curtain to rise again. Will you take the stage or become part of the show forever? Teach on Maxwell Mansion, Lake Geneva. Maxwell Mansion looks like a postcard of elegance, gas lamps glowing softly, ivy curling around white pillars, and a quiet charm that pulls visitors in. But behind its polished beauty lies a darkness that Lake Geneva locals know too well. A lingering presence that refuses to leave the halls it once called home. Guests stepping inside often describe the same unsettling first impression. The mansion feels aware. The air thickens, as if someone is studying them from just beyond the reach of the light. Footsteps echo along the upper floor, slow and deliberate. Even when every room is empty, some hear the faint rustle of a dress brushing past them, followed by a cold breath on the back of their neck, too close and too human to ignore. The most whispered tale centers around the former lady of the house. People have seen her drifting across the ballroom in a shimmering gown, her figure blurred like a reflection in broken glass. She glides toward the fireplace, pauses, and disappears. Others claim she appears in their rooms at night, standing silently at the foot of the bed, her face dimly lit, eyes filled with a sadness heavy enough to freeze the blood. But the basement is where fear takes hold. Once used as a secret speakeasy, it hums with voices after dark laughter, glasses clinking, a piano playing a tune from another century. Yet when staff investigate, the room is silent, the air strangely cold, the shadows deeper than they should be. Some swear they've seen a man in suspenders leaning at the bar, head bowed, as if waiting for a drink he never received. Lights flicker in empty hallways. Doors open with a slow, cautious creak. And late at night, guests report hearing someone knocking not on their door, but from inside the walls, Maxwell Mansion may welcome you with charm and history, but its ghosts are restless, watching, waiting. If you choose to spend the night, be prepared. You're never truly alone. For a team, Grunk's First Street Inn, Bayfield. Grunky's First Street Inn looks harmless enough from the outside, an old-fashioned Bayfield landmark with creaking floors, vintage charm, and the soft glow of lakeside lanterns. But once the fog rolls in from Lake Superior and the streets fall silent, the inn's true history rises from the shadows, and it's far colder than the northern wind. Guests who check in often sense it first at the staircase, an unexpected chill, as though someone has just walked past them. Staff brush it off as old building quirks, but the cold follows you, lingering on your skin like invisible fingers. Late at night, footsteps wander the upper hallways, slow and uneven, as if someone is dragging one foot behind them. When brave guests open their doors to look, the hall is always empty, except for the faint smell of damp lake water. One of the oldest stories comes from room 4. Visitors waking in the middle of the night report seeing a figure sitting in the corner chair, shoulders hunched, face hidden, clothes dripping as though soaked from a storm. He never moves. He only watches, and the moment they turn on the light, he vanishes, leaving the chair wet to the touch. In the dining room, antique plates and silverware sometimes clatter on their own, shifting as if someone is setting a table for a guest who never arrived. A waitress once swore she felt a hand brush across her back, gentle at first, then firmly pushing her forward, as if urging her to hurry. She left early that night and never returned. The basement is the place even longtime employees refuse to enter after sunset. They claim the shadows gather there, thick and heavy, whispering in voices that rise with the sound of the lake's crashing waves. Some say a fisherman who drowned decades ago still wanders the inn, searching for warmth he'll never find. Others insist multiple spirits roam the halls, trapped by stories lost to time. Grunky's First Street Inn may welcome travelers with comfort and nostalgia. Once darkness settles, the past begins to stir. Wet footprints appear where no one has walked. Whispers echo through the walls, and unseen eyes follow you everywhere. If you stay the night, keep your lights on, because the inn's oldest guests never checked out. Octagon House, Fond du Lac. The Octagon House in Fond du Lac looks unusual, even in daylight. 8 walls, narrow halls, and windows that seem to watch from every angle. But once night falls, the house feels less like a home and more like a trap built to hold something that still moves inside. Visitors often feel the shift the moment they step through the door. The air grows unnaturally cold, carrying faint whispers that seem to circle the rooms. Footsteps echo on the upper floors, slow and measured, though no one is there. Some guests report seeing a shadowy figure drift past the staircase, tall, silent, disappearing before they can blink. The most unsettling encounters happen in the tower room. People hear soft tapping on the walls, like fingernails tracing the wood. Others feel someone standing directly behind them, breath icy against their ear. Though the room is empty, tour guides say the tower door sometimes slams shut on its own, as if something inside doesn't want to be disturbed. Lights flicker. Doors open with a sudden jolt. And late at night, a woman's faint sobbing is heard from the attic, drifting down the stairwell before fading into the dark. The octagon house may look like a quirky piece of history, but its walls hold more than old stories. They hold restless eyes and wandering shadows. If you visit, don't stay alone too long. The house never likes to be quiet, and that was just the beginning. Wisconsin is filled with haunted roads, cursed forests, and towns with stories even darker than these 15 places. If you want to dive deeper into the ones people are too scared to talk about, make sure you stick around, because the next chapter is even more chilling. Hit watch next, and don't explore alone.